And hello to the people on the live behind the scenes or on the recorded behind the scenes video version of the Computer Action Show.
Wow.
This was shot on Sunday, October 12th. And 11th?
11th?
No.
Yep.
It's the 12th.
It's the 11th.
Is this computer's date off, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, on the 11th. And that's all there is to that.
That's all there is to that.
All right,
we're gonna
ready whenever you are there, Jeremy.
Yeah, we're gonna get rolling with this app.
Season 1, Episode 5.
I know what it is.
All right.
Okay. Here we go. 3, 2.
And welcome to Season 1, Episode 5 of the Computer Action Show. My name is Brian. With me, of course, is Chris.
Hey, Brian. On this day in history, which is I'm fudging by one day because it's such a cool story, Steve Jobs introduces the next computer company.
Uh-huh.
So this actually came out so we're recording on Sunday. This came out on Monday. So Steve unveiled the next computer company that he designed after moving from Apple Computer Incorporated. While he had founded with Steve Wozniak, although the Next ultimately failed and Steve Wozniak was not involved with Next but with Apple, it introduced several features new to personal computers, including optical storage disks, a built-in digital signal processor allowed voice recognition, and object-oriented language that simplified programming on a Motorola 68030 microprocessor. Oh, I remember those with 8 megabytes of RAM. The Next computer wasn't really known for its speed, but it was still fairly popular with a group of people.
It was slower than molasses, actually.
Next ended up being bought by Apple in 1997, but on October 12th, 1988, that was the official announcement of the Next computer company. What do you think of that, Brian?
What do you mean, what do I think of that? It was very, very cool.
Did you ever get to play with like a Next Cube?
I got one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think they're fantastic.
I never got one.
Slow machines. I mean, even by
that was an old CPU.
No. Even by then standards, it was slow.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
Well, by then it was kind of an old. The CPU was reaching,
and the machines were crazy expensive. Like, it didn't make any sense because you could literally put together the pieces and parts to build that Next Cube for. I mean, we're not talking big margins here. We're talking like a tenth of the cost. It was ridiculous.
Commodore 256 in the chat room says that Doom, the game Doom, was developed on a Next computer.
As was the first web browsers.
Now, here is the thing. That Next Cube was etched from a solid block of aluminum. Interestingly, it's a similar technique that they now use for their MacBook unibody designs.
Yep.
So years later, Steve Jobs still obviously has some sort of fascination with building the machine casing out of one single part.
Though Steve Jobs did claim that no one had done that before.
Yeah,
recently.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
well,
he said that no one had ever done that before.
If you invent the ability to hover, and then you kind of stop doing it because it was really expensive, and then 15 years later, you then again reinvent the ability to hover. Yeah. I think you still get to claim nobody's done that.
No, that's dumb. That's just ignorant, man. Because I'd get up there and I'd be like, you know what? I'm hovering. But you know what? I was hovering 15 years ago when all you fools were sitting down on the ground and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's what I'd be like.
Maybe he meant for a laptop.
You know, maybe his brain's not working. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, he has had some rough times lately, so Brian, you just need to acknowledge.
I need to cut him some slack, apparently.
Yeah. So I want to mention before we go too much farther, last episode we mentioned we'd be giving away the popcorn hour. We have done that, and we have Benjamin won the popcorn hour. He followed us on youtube.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. He subscribed there, and he was a fan on our Facebook page.
Congratulations, man.
It has been shipped out to him earlier in the week. You should be getting it probably about midweek of this episode release, so that's really cool. Big congrats. Sounds like he's got a ton of stuff lined up for it. He told me he's got all kinds of videos that he's already got planned to play on there, so I think it definitely went to a good home.
That's awesome.
And then, of course, we have another giveaway coming up. We're giving away the Kodak ZI-8, which is Kodak's little portable 1080p
it's a great camera.
Flash-based, high-definition recorded device. If you see like the Flip Mino, it looks a lot like that, only it's cooler.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. And the pictures that it takes are just phenomenal looking.
Yeah, and we've got a demo of it up over on our YouTube channel if you want to see it. But anyways, we're giving away a ZI-8 once we hit 6,000 subscribers on YouTube. And it's going to be the same formula. You'll need to be subscribed to our YouTube channel and then also a fan on our Facebook page. There is a discussion section on our Facebook fan page where people can link to their profiles where we can go and check to make sure they're subscribed. Everybody that's in that discussion group that links to their profile there enters to that's where you enter the drawing, and then we randomly generate a name. Ticket. And then we also decided to give away not just the popcorn hour, but just kind of a surprise giveaway. We also did a $30 Amazon gift certificate. Yeah. And Mitchell, I think his name was right, Mitchell.
I think so. Yeah.
He won that one, and so that was kind of a little second place surprise that we just decided at the last minute to do. And I think we might do something like that with the ZI8 giveaway. So you've got a pretty good shot because there's not a ton of people yet on the Facebook page, and there's,
It's good odds. It's good odds, ladies and gentlemen. We were originally just going to do the YouTube thing, but that means that you're competing with like 8 bajillion people, and that's no good.
And so you can find our Facebook fan page over at facebook.com/Jupiter Broadcasting.
It's fantastic.
There's also it's also linked to on the front page of Jupiter Broadcasting.
We're good at linking things on websites. Yeah. On the internet.
Hey, Brian, should we just skip this episode today and do a Windows 7 house party?
Oh man,
that would be fun to live stream a Windows 7 house party. And we can make it as ridiculous as their example video.
The Jupiter Broadcasting Windows 7 house party.
Yeah. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that would be great.
Have you seen that video they did? Where it's like people in a kitchen and they're like telling people how to run.
It would be great. It would be great. We get a bunch of the folks in the area that we met like at Linux Fest Northwest. A lot of the Linux geeks and the open source geeks. Yeah. Let's all get together. Let's reenact it. So let's all be uber cheesy about it. Yeah. We'll get dip together and be like, well, I think having parties is lots of fun. And then let's do all that sort of stuff. And then let's pull out, oh, look at the new Windows 7. And we all just look at it and we go, oh.
Project Mortis in the chat room had a great idea. He's like, get the live stream going and make like this. Be totally serious, like but make it corny. You're doing the live stream of your Windows 7 house party, and then have a blue screen show up on the live stream and shut the stream down. Just like full screen, blue screen, and then stream dies. That would be hilarious.
Stream is dead.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Today, although, while we're not having a Windows 7 release party today, we are kind of having an Ubuntu 9.10 release party.
Which is not out yet.
It's not out yet.
It's 2 weeks until it's out, but we wanted to do it now because, you got to get ready. You got to take some time to back it all up. Anyway,
before we get into that, we've got a couple of things we need to do. One of them is coming up, which is the news. But first, we got to say holla to our boys over at GoDaddy.com.
Want to buy or sell a domain name? Buy and sell at GoDaddy Auctions.
Auctions, Brian?
The hottest domain auction house on the web with a capital W. GoDaddy Auctions has up to 50% lower commission fees than other leading auction houses, so you keep more of your monies. Plus, you can join GoDaddy Auctions now for half off your first year of membership. Stop by GoDaddy.com now and click Auctions at the very top of the homepage. It's right up there. Boom. Auctions. Click.
That's where you find it.
Be sure to enter the code AUCTION10. Auction all lowercase, 10 in your cart to receive that 50% off savings.
Auction 10 will save you 50% off on the auction. That's a great savings. Now, these auctions are cool because it's where these come in is if there's a domain name you really, really want, but it's already taken. Well, a lot of times they go up for auction and you can bid on them. And with Auction 10, 50% savings. Boom. That's no joke. And I just wanted to say,
it's no joke.
In our normal ad read, we talk a lot about the GoDaddy hosting connection.
Yep.
And I just did 2 blogs for 2 different people through GoDaddy hosting. And I went in there, and when you buy a domain and you also buy it with hosting, it's like 2 clicks to get all of the DNS set up so that your host is totally configured when it's sitting there at GoDaddy. I mean, it's like really simple. It's like click, click, DNS configured, blogs going, set up within a couple of hours, and then at most, I think it took maybe 2 hours at the longest. And then I went into GoDaddy hosting connection, single-click WordPress install.
It's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah.
And I also did a single-click install of a really cool service. It's called it's like some sort of job search, which enables people to have embedded job searches for their specific type of audience on their website.
Cool.
Single install. It was really cool. So I just wanted to say, we've talked a lot about GoDaddy hosting connection, and if you're going to do any hosting over GoDaddy, there's also our Linux 20, which will save you 20% on hosting.
That's a good deal.
All right, Brian. Well, I think we've talked about everything we wanted to cover in the top half of the show.
Yes.
Or at least in the
what
top
should we
segment.
do now?
Let's do the news.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, maybe I'll play that back there, Jay Rand.
Drinky. I do think you were a little loud.
And we'll see how that. Why do you gotta ask for things? I mean, I just don't understand why you have to ask for things. I just wish you wouldn't ask for things.
Can I also have more French fries?
Hey, will you unmute?
Those were good.
Will you unmute number 6?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
My name is Brian. With me, of course, is Chris.
Hey, Brian. On this day in history, which is I'm fudging by one day because it's such a cool story, Steve Jobs introduces the next... Huh?
It's just in the recording.
Yeah. So turn number... I think I'm number 3. Turn me down just a little bit and
Just
see
like
how...
a hair. A little bit more. A little more. A little more than that.
What do you think? Well, it doesn't sound. It always sounds fine in our headphones. But you can turn me down just a little more, and I can always boost it in post.
Yeah, boosting is better than not. Yeah.
What do you think? How's that sound?
I don't know how sensitive this board is.
Pop, pop, pop. Test, test, test.
Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what the relief it is.
Do you want to do another little quick test recording on the high res? Pop me down a little bit, and then let's do one more test recording. I'll play it back, and we'll see how it sounds.
Jerry's invisible.
The invisible Jerry.
Okay, recording now.
All right, this is Chris testing my audio. Test 1, 2.
Oh, Chris, you are testing your audio. Test 1, 2.
Stop. Recording now.
All right, this is Chris testing my audio. Test 1, 2.
Oh, Chris, you are testing your audio. Test 1, 2. Clip, clip, clip.
We both sound a little hot.
Yeah.
All right, let me take a look.
We're both a little hot. All right, Chris is going to hop there behind the camera right now and go touch the board. And Chris and Jerry are going to be
Jeremy!
are going to be fixing it so we don't have any hot plop plop fizz fizz going on. And they're taking care of that. And while they're doing that, anything you guys want to talk about on the amazing behind the scenes live stream of the Computer Action Show? It's pretty fancy. We got one here from Mike. German national TV news made a huge blunder, man. Instead of fishing, they said that people have huge problems with... Okay, I don't know if I can read that online. Oh, good call, Mike.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Chris audio check. Chris audio check. 1, 2, 3. Chris audio check, check, check.
Oh, Chris audio check. Chris audio check.
All right, that's it. That'll fix it right there. Yep. Okay, let's go with this. Does that sound better to the chat room?
Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. No. Project Morris says we are hissing like mad. Other people say it's clean. Much better. Sounds great. Better. It's good. Project Morris is wrong. Everyone else says it's good. Project Morris, I'm so sorry, man. You just got
Owned.
posed there, yeah.
He's owned.
Philip says or Pillif says it's better now.
All right. All right, I say that's good enough votes there. Let's go ahead and move into the news segment. All right, Jeremy, ready when you is.
What's new in the news this week?
All right, Brian, our top story on the news docket for this week. T-Mobile says, if you're a Sidekick user, we probably just lost all of your data.
Okay. This actually didn't affect older Sidekicks.
That's good. Yeah, because the newer Sidekicks, they store their contents online.
Yeah.
And then when you shut down and then turn on the device again, it re-downloads your contents.
Right. Now, the older Sidekick synced it a little differently, so it was all stored locally, but it's synced with the server. So, like, my wife has an older Sidekick, totally fine. Guy I know at work, newer Sidekick, totally hosed.
So this is an interesting one, and this is why it's our top story, because I think it's a good example of something physical you own, but with cloud-hosted services, essentially, because that's what we have here. You kind of get boned.
You do.
And
it happens all the time.
Here's how serious it is. T-Mobile has suspended the sales of Sidekicks.
Yeah.
And there's talk that T-Mobile may just discontinue the Sidekick line, because here is why. And this is why I find this particularly interesting. So people that have followed the show for a while, you may remember that we covered a news item maybe like a year or two ago that Microsoft purchased Danger. Danger was originally the makers of the Sidekick.
Of Hip Top or the Sidekick.
Right.
Yeah.
And now Microsoft owns the Sidekick. And Jeremy, if you want to show my screen.
It's still run by Danger. It's still it's like they're a wholly owned subsidiary. Microsoft's really not that involved.
Right, and so it was this is one of the original smartphones. It had a flip out screen with a QWERTY keyboard. It was very, very nice. Always on connectivity and things like that.
Yep.
Oh, there's Jeremy with the. Oh, hey, you want to mute number 6, Jeremy, so Pigeon doesn't make a bunch of noise. So the thing that happened is Microsoft now runs and houses those servers So they had some sort of server crash on the Microsoft campus, and this is where the data's been lost. And Microsoft is working like mad to try to recover it. But it's this weird trifecta because it's us as customers and users who have our data stored on servers, who we go through T-Mobile, who then goes through Microsoft, who then has a failure, and it goes all the way up the chain and affects everybody.
We all got screwed. Huge amounts of no screw. And it's also just really horrible design. Why on earth would you have it resync with your device always?
I don't understand that.
That doesn't make any sense. Just have it sync, store the data locally. It's not like phone numbers and address books take up that much space. Every other phone can do it. Old sidekicks were fine. It's just their design for new sidekicks was bad. In addition to apparently their design for their servers and their recovery plan was bad.
So here's the advice from T-Mobile. It says, Sidekick customers, during the service disruption, please do not remove your battery, reset your Sidekick, or allow it to power down.
And here's another thing. Sidekicks don't sync with your PCs.
Yeah, that's no good.
You can't sync a Sidekick with a PC. It only syncs with their online cloud
now,
service.
I believe, wasn't the Sidekick the source of like some Paris Hilton nudity pictures a while ago?
Oh,
Didn't somebody hack her Sidekick? Is that what it was?
Something like that.
Then she moved on to the iPhone. But that's maybe where the Sidekick was the most famous from. But it's just kind of a crazy story. And
the Sidekick was a very, very cool phone when it first came out.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
Yeah.
You know, it was early on. It was one of the phones with a better web browser, great texting, always on instant messaging, had a lot of great services. But now it's long in the tooth anyway. It doesn't have the services new phones have. And apparently you don't get to keep your data.
Apparently.
So yeah. That's a big fail right there.
All right, Brian, the next story on the news docket for this week.
Lay it on me.
Microsoft and Novell state their new relationship is exceeding expectations.
Say what now?
Microsoft and Novell are close to completing the sales targets that formed part of their alliance. 3 years. Geez, 3 years already,
3
Brian.
years.
Wow. 3 years into their 5-year deal, representatives from the company said that they're very happy with the way things are going. Microsoft has sold $220 million. That's 137 euro for our friends across the pond. And that is $220 million worth of SUSE Linux subscriptions for Novell. Microsoft sales, their sales department has sold $220 million for Novell.
Damn.
That's pretty interesting considering that Microsoft bought 240 million subscriptions ahead of time from Novell during the deal, and so they've almost sold all of those. Now, what's interesting is the relationship, if you followed it, has kind of more evolved into a virtualization interoperability partnership than it is a sales partnership as much. I mean, I guess 3 years into it, they've almost sold everything they bought, but really now they've set up a virtualization lab and things like that. So it's an interesting thing. And I just like to touch back to the story because this was really big news in the open source world for a long time.
Oh yeah, no.
When this deal 3 years ago,
Boycott Novell and Grok both basically proclaimed from the top of the mountains that within a year everything would die.
Everything was ruined. Yeah.
Society was gonna stop, water would stop flowing, and our firstborn children would all be taken away.
And that sounds awful.
Yeah, that sounds bad. Turns out what happened was more people are just using Linux.
So far, yeah.
So far, that's the net result is
so far
more people are using Linux.
All right, so let's move along to the next story on the news docket. London, the London Stock Exchange, these guys over there, Brian, you know what they're doing?
I don't.
Are you prepared for this, Brian?
Well, they're probably eating fish and chips.
I hope so. With some clam chowder.
Wait, beans and toast.
I hope so.
Wait. You know, in London, you know what they call like French fries and like fish and chips and stuff?
What?
Chippy.
That's cute, dude. I like
let's go down to the Chippy or whatever. I can't do their accent because it's crazy sounding. But
yeah, that was Mayor Quimby. You went to Mayor freaking Quimby.
Let's go get some Chippy.
It's all you do, man. Well, that's your one accent you do for everybody.
You're either from America or you sound like Mayor Quimby.
But Mayor Quimby is from America.
I don't think so. He's from The Simpsons, man. He's not from America.
Yeah, okay.
Where are The Simpsons? Where do they live?
America.
Springfield everywhere. That's nothing. That's not a real place. It's Mayor Quimby. He's got to be from London, I'm assuming.
All right. So, but a side note, fish and chips are delicious, and we should have some for lunch. Except for I actually...
fish and chips does sound
I
good.
ordered us pizza a little bit
Chris,
ago. What?
let's bag the show and just go get fish and chips.
I already got pizza in the kitchen.
Do you really?
Yeah. All right, so the London Stock Exchange is dumping Windows for Linux. Now, this is an interesting one.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to business computer systems, nothing's more mission critical than the massive trading software that runs the stock markets. Now, the situation with these stock market server systems is, seconds of downtime could be millions of euros or US dollars, depending on where it is. And so
I think it's pronounced heroes.
The London Stock Exchange originally thought they were going to
like
receive
these delicious wraps. You put like beef in them and stuff.
Oh yeah,
it's Greek.
Those are fist pump.
Fist pump.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Millions of heroes.
All right.
Those are good Sammys, man.
So the
what are we talking about?
I think we're talking about fish and chips again and food.
Okay.
So the London Stock Exchange last year, almost exactly a year ago, it was in September, said that they expected to cut down on their transaction time by a ton by going from a Unix system to a .NET Windows server-based system. And so they went Server 2003 for their trading platform, and they did .NET applications.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they thought this was actually going to be a really fantastic improvement in performance. So what they've discovered is that they mainly had, while it actually did improve the speed, there was a couple of things that they had to trade off. One of them was expensive consulting fees. So the overall overhead of the cost to run the environment was really expensive.
It was really high.
And then the second issue is that their performance, while was decent, I mean, if you think about it, I'm looking for the number here, but I think it was something like 32 milliseconds for a transaction. All right. So let's go with this number. It's 32 milliseconds, and that seems decent, but I guess to them, they felt like this was not fast enough because they have so many transactions happening at once during the trading day.
You got to have real-time transactions.
So they've been running in test a Linux-powered system, and I don't know. They mentioned for the Windows system it was .NET. They don't say what the Linux-based system is. Yeah. But it's a combination of Linux servers, some Solaris systems, and Cisco networking gear. And I believe the Solaris systems are used to run Oracle databases. So they're switching out from a Microsoft SQL database backend to an Oracle database backend running on Solaris.
Well, if you've got a really, really huge set of websites and whatnot, Oracle's kind of the go-to for like massive performance.
But it's interesting to see that the database backend, the story and the news is they're switching to Linux. But the core database functionality is actually going to be on a farm of Solaris servers. The front end is going to be managed by Linux servers, and they believe through the combination of Solaris Oracle servers, Cisco networking gear, and Linux front-end servers, they expect to see the transaction times drop to 2.7 milliseconds. Oh, no, drop to 0.4 milliseconds. 0.4 milliseconds.
What?
Yeah, huge drop.
Wait, hold on a second while I unimplode my brain.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you measure that small of a number. Like, I got to be honest with you.
With a stopwatch, it's really good.
Like, with a stopwatch? Yeah, that's a really good stopwatch.
A really good stopwatch.
And like a guy with a really fast finger.
Yeah. No, you got to have... There's specific guys out there, specifically over in London, because they don't have a lot to do other neat fish and chips. They have these stopwatches, Brian, that have these really sensitive buttons, and they just go... Did you see how fast you do that?
And here's,
watch me.
Oh, dude, you should do that.
I actually did that on a side job.
So, I do a fair bit of code profiling in my job. You know, what I do is I try to make sure my code runs faster and faster. Yeah. So when I profile my code, I have it so it dumps out for me. You know, it took this many milliseconds to run this function. If I get it down to like 10 milliseconds, I'm like, hot damn, I write some fast code.
You want to know how they measured it? I can tell you how they measured it. The consultants that are selling them the system made the time window up so that way they could sell the system and it would sound good in the press. That's how they measured that.
Wait, what?
I'm just saying, just coming from a consulting background and seeing consultants throw in pitches, they'll build a test environment and they'll claim some crazy number because they know, the press will pick it up, so then the client's pressured to go that direction. And it sounds really good. And if you've just recently sustained a bunch of crashes and your performance hasn't been that good, to come out with a crazy great performance number also looks really good. So there's really nobody that loses by them lying because no one's ever going to know if the transactions aren't at that speed. My bet is that that is their best guess estimate of what they could potentially achieve should all things work together.
Or they did like 1,000 tests and one of them went through that fast.
Or they have like all of the math down and they say, according to the math, this is what we should equal out, but they can't actually be able to determine it. But either way, they still expect to have a great. The main thing is they expect to have better stability and better performance, and that they'll have to actually deliver on. So that's all that really matters.
Here's an actually interesting one. So someone in the chat room just pinged their local host. So pinged their own computer, and the turnaround time was 0.61 milliseconds. So just a simple 64-byte ping of your local machine already takes more time than what they're claiming the fastest turnaround time on a transaction would be.
Well, there is not much that can be said other than they must be lying. That's all I got for you.
You know what? If you're working on this project and you're not lying, drop us a line. I would like to hear how you are pulling off these massive speeds.
All right, Brian. The next story on the news docket for this week. Oh, hey, you know what? We have some other people are posting their time now. That 0.25 milliseconds, Brian.
0.025.
All right.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting one. If you're a system administrator or anything like that, a Windows server will now trust Samba 4 Active Directory. Now, Samba 4 is still in development.
Yeah.
But it's been the holy grail to join a Samba server to an Active Directory domain and act as a domain controller. Right?
Right.
So the group of Samba 4 developers recently spent a week in Redmond to work with Microsoft on Active Directory interoperability. The result is Windows Server will now join, trust, and replicate to a Samba-based Active Directory machine. And I use that in air quotes because you basically run Samba, you have an LDAP backend, and then it looks like Active Directory, that it's a legitimate Windows server, using the native Microsoft protocols. So think about that. They're not reverse engineering. They're actually using the native Microsoft protocols. Little thing here, turns out the Samba team, through a third-party agency, signed a patent deal with Microsoft. Nobody freaks out about that, but there is actually a patent protection agreement in place for Samba, so they are now able to use the native Microsoft protocols. This happened a year or so ago.
Yeah.
But because everybody needs and uses Samba, we've elected not to freak out about that as a group, apparently.
You know what we should do? We should start up like a website, like Boycott Samba.
Well, anybody
just to be random
anybody out there
jerks.
that's freaking out about the Novell patent deal and Mono,
You have to be freaking out about Samba.
I hope they also, when they uninstall Mono, are uninstalling Samba. Otherwise, they are D-bags.
I was going to say
also,
hypocritical, but
maybe they should also.
Too.
I love it because I was on this site, and I know I've talked about this before. I was on this guy's blog, and he's like, instructions on a clean, free Ubuntu desktop, and he updated it for Ubuntu 9.10. And the first thing he does after you first get logged in the desktop is you apt-get force remove everything Mono. Second thing he tells everybody to do is apt-get install Win32 codecs. You know,
no, he doesn't.
Yes, dude. The freaking illegal things to install unless you have a Windows license.
Does he just not understand what he's talking about?
D-bag.
So it doesn't have anything to do with free for him. It just has to do with being like part of a religious movement that's anti-mono or something.
I think so.
Lame.
So anyways, but this is great news because now Samba 4 is going to be able to join Active Directory on the native Microsoft protocols.
Yep.
And
that's actually very cool.
If you have been trying to get a Linux server into your corporation, if you think there's a lot of functionality that you could have, one great use of a Linux server in an organization is a Samba file server, because then you've unlocked all the potential of Bash scripting on the back end of a file server. And then also you can do some really cool things with a Samba file server that you can't do with an actual Windows file server. Just a couple of things that I used to do.
Laid on
back in the Dizzle. You can say Samba exclude these types of file extensions from saving to the file server.
Chris, don't say Dizzle. Don't.
But I like Dizzle.
Chris, you can't do that, man.
No Dizzle?
Like, you can't go around being like, that guy over there is a D-bag.
All right. Okay.
But check me out in my Dizzle for shizzle.
All right. Well,
I just, Chris, you just.
Back in the day when I worked in the hood,
Chris. Oh, man. Guys. Oh.
All right. Back in the day, I had a Samba file server set up where things like .vbs and .mp3 wouldn't couldn't save to the file share to clean up the server and things like that. But here is another great use: is you could say script a bash little job that would go through and clean up roaming profiles and get all the junk out of the temporary internet files. I mean, having bash on the back end is so nice, and then being able to have Windows client interact with it. Now being able to natively join Active Directory, that's huge.
Yeah.
And that's going to be something coming out in Samba 4, which is still in alpha. Interesting also that Samba team was able, a group of the Samba developers that are working on Samba 4 flew out to Redmond, hung out there for a week, worked with Microsoft. But if Miguel DeCaza does it for Mono and Moonlight, well, he's doing it to subvert the entire open source movement.
He's a Microsoft apologist.
But when Samba 4 devs do it, we get one headline that says, Samba is amazing! And then they move on. Just saying, a little bit of a double standard. I don't have an. I'm just saying.
Hey, Chris.
Yep.
Hey, Chris. For shizzle.
Yeah, for shizzle, bro.
Right?
All right. The next
I'm
story.
learning to talk like Chris, everybody.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
The next story on the news docket for this week. Red Hat says we're 75% of the paid Linux market. This is an interesting story.
Huh.
So Red Hat's come out and said that when you are looking at the sales breakdown of enterprise Linux, they are accounted for 75% of the sales, which is interesting because we've recently had a few stories where it's been a Red Hat has really been making a ton of money. I mean, we've come out and we've been looking at their profits, and we've had discussions: are they stealing from Windows, or are they just absorbing Unix market share?
Right.
Are their profits up because they raised the rates for their Red Hat Enterprise network? Is it a combo unit? And it's been an interesting discussion, but it obviously is. Red Hat is doing great right now. A combination of people looking for better value, different stability aspects to having Linux as your back-end system or your front-end system. So anyways, Red Hat is exceeding in this area right now, and they believe, these are their numbers, that they account for 75% of paid Linux.
Did they say what those numbers are?
Well, they've actually never given out their direct sales numbers.
So no, here's something I just want to point out math-wise. So
Go ahead.
We just did a story about the sales that Novell has done just through Microsoft.
Right.
And they were huge. We're talking like 20 million or 200 million or whatever.
220 million.
220 million.
Like that, yeah.
So that means that those sales have to be at least 25% less. Less than 25% of the paid Linux market. And realistically, that would mean that if that was the case, it would be significantly less than that because there's other players involved. There's Cisco and everyone else.
I think Red Hat is also, and I don't know exactly their math here, but I think they're also including JBoss sales because Red Hat has a JBoss division, which run on Linux as part of their overall paid Linux market share. I don't know if it's just solely Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So I think they might be mixing numbers a little bit.
I think they definitely mix in numbers a little bit here. I mean, I don't know. That just seems ridiculous to me. Like that, I don't see how that's possible. I mean, I've worked with a lot of people who have had a lot of Linux-powered servers over the years, and some of them have been Red Hat-based. Most of those, though, have been CentOS.
Yeah, I've seen a ton of that, which makes you really wonder. Yeah,
and honestly, I've seen more SUSE Linux Enterprise server than I have Red Hat Enterprise. So I'm just sitting here and I'm like, okay, so even if my personal experiences are way off, that still makes me look at the 75% number and cock my head to the side. And I'm like, you know what? Unless you're going to back that up, I just don't buy it. It's kind of like when the Fedora project comes out and says, we're used by like friggin' everyone. And we know this because we tracked our repositories, but we're not going to tell you the real numbers. Like, you know what? That just makes me want to go, really? Really? Because in every metric I've ever seen, you guys are like number 6. So,
no, I think they probably are the number one paid Linux.
Maybe, but 75%, I'm not.
That is
I'm
pretty
not
big. Well, you know what? I'll link to the story in the show notes, and people can go read it, and they can make up their own mind.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not.
It's from internetnews.com,
yeah,
and
if
I'll
anyone
put a link to it.
from Red Hat wants to drop us an email or come on the show and let us know where they got those numbers from and whatnot, definitely all willing. I will eat my hat if I'm wrong, but I call shenanigans on that one.
Yeah. All right. Should we move on?
Yeah, okay.
All right,
moving on.
So this news story I'm actually pretty excited about because we talk a lot about virtualization, and if you have heard of the VMware Player before, it's kind of like, you almost think of it as like a read-only way. You can only load VMs into it.
Yeah, well, so like you can go, like if you go to VMware.com, they have an appliances section.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you can download like a pre-install of OpenSUSE 11.2 and just try it out.
Right. Well, so VMware has announced that VMware Player 3 will now be able to create virtual machines. Now, this is interesting because you can take their free player, and it has a lot of really nice optimizations, and you can create a blank VMDK file now and load a virtual machine in there. Additionally, they're also announcing for the Linux side of things, they're going to support OpenGL, sound support on Linux Guest. So that means if you have sound support, and notice they didn't say Pulse Audio, but also means that the Linux, whatever machine you have in the guest, the Linux host machine, or multiple guests could be playing audio simultaneously.
Right.
You don't have, not only before, only one device could have the sound card. And so if your host happened to be playing audio while you started up the virtual machine, you get an error saying, oh, the sound card's disconnected, I can't attach the sound.
Yep. Isn't that great?
They also are saying Windows 7 support, multi-monitor support, and Aero support under Vista and Windows 7 in free player.
In free player, I don't know.
I mean, this could be the holy grail because it's a very lightweight, very lean virtualization. You don't have
and it runs
like
great.
The whole workstation package where there's all this different stuff. It's just small, clean. You can now load under Linux. You get something that supports Arrow, supports sound really well.
You know, because I mean, I use VMware Workstation daily, and I'm looking at this. I'm like, well, if this adds all that, I don't really need Workstation anymore.
Right.
Like, I'm at the point now where I can stop paying my couple $100 and just get VMware Player for free.
I think the gauntlet's now been thrown down as far as free virtualization goes for the desktop because there's a few features in here now that VirtualBox doesn't yet have. Another really nice thing is the easy install wizard that Workstation has. Player now has that. So like,
Player has that too?
2-click XP install, 2-click Ubuntu install, where it autofills and all the stuff, so you don't have to sit there and hit next and all that stuff.
Oh man,
Player now has that too, which sounds kind of like a dumb thing, but if you do a lot of installs,
it's way handy.
It's really,
I love it.
It really cranks it through. Now the problem is like XP is like 247 years old, so they really have it down. Whereas the Ubuntu installer, Canonical is always tweaking it with every release, so it generally only works until VMware is able to rev the support for the next Ubuntu release.
That still works great. I mean, that's awesome. Actually,
but so VMware Player 3.
Is there any indication on the release date for that?
Well, you can get the beta now.
Okay.
So you can go out. You have to have an account at VMware.com, but it's a free account. You just have to register to download it, and you can get it now. So it's VMware v VirtualBox once again. I think it's very cool.
Wow.
All right. So the last story.
Man, Parallels is just kind of doing nothing.
Yeah, I know it, dude.
They don't have a free version. They only have the paid version, and their paid version is significantly less awesome than the free versions of like anything else.
I know, and you know it's a good thing VirtualBox is around because if it wasn't for VirtualBox, I mean,
it's great.
Parallels on the Mac side is one thing, but Parallels on Windows and Linux
is a joke.
It's meh
it's useless.
at best. Yeah, it
was
runs
slow.
At one point it
was
interesting, but it's just not bringing a lot to the virtualization party anymore.
No, I like virtualization parties, Chris.
All right, Brian. Well, the next story on the news docket for this week, I'm really excited about this one. It's kind of silly, but I just want to throw it there as a happy-go-lucky story. Remember the open source NextUIS game, Brian? It's a really fun one.
I know NextUIS.
It's a great looking game, and they're shipping a new release.
It's very Quake-ish.
It's very Quake-ish, but it's fast, it's fun, and of course it's free.
Of course.
And I actually think it looks pretty good. It's not the most cutting-edge graphics. If you're looking at the video version, I'm showing a few screenshots of it, and it looks pretty nice, I think. But anyways, they've released a new version of the open source NextUIS game, and I'm covering it because it looks pretty neat. One thing that they've introduced is they have a full tutorial map now. So if you're jumping into the game, you might be a little bit thrown off at first. Well, that's not really an issue anymore. Nope. No, sir, Brian. They've added a full tutorial map. They also have a totally new heads-up display, which looks really cool. You got to play the game to see it. They've also have a new scoreboard if you're playing multiplayer, where you can compete against friends or other people online. And they've got a nice way to do it. They now also support a whole new range of video resolutions. The only limitation now, as far as how high of a res you can crank this game up, is basically what your video card and desktop can support.
Nice.
That's your only limiting factor.
Nice.
So you just think about just those things alone out of a free game are great upgrades.
It's a great game.
Right.
It is it's a good fast fragging Twitch first person shooter game.
Another kind of cool effect they've added is when you're starting to take on a lot of damage, you're starting to get hit, Brian. When your health starts to get a little low, you're going to start to get a little motion blur. You're going to have little tracers and things. Right? Isn't that fun?
That's always a good effect.
And they also have a bunch of other little small tweaks and a couple of tweaks to the gameplay modes. And the most notable tweaks are done to the deathmatch mode. But overall, a great
that's
upgrade.
Kind of the thing.
And you know what? It's free anyway. So, I mean, it's like, why not just go download and grab it? It looks pretty great. If you're watching,
it's available for like every platform, isn't it?
Yeah. And if you're watching the video version, you're seeing some of the screenshots, and it just looks. I mean, I want to stop recording the show right now, and I want to play this game. It just looks like a ton of fun.
Yeah,
and
they've done a really nice job.
The screenshots I'm showing are of the old interface. They don't have the new heads-up display on stuff that looks really good. But
even the old stuff looked good.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
Big props to the NextUIS guys.
Yep. All right, Brian. I think that. Did you have anything you want to throw in the
No.
No. You good?
No. I don't want to screw up your for shizzle vibe.
All right.
Let's just keep going.
All right, homie. That's all the news for this week.
Nice. Oh yeah, Hulu on Linux.
Yeah. Oh, the Hulu desktop player. Yeah, it's just a desktop player.
It's not that big a deal.
It's just an Air app, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but you know.
Yeah, we don't need to cover that.
Mike, we're not going to look at the cheap German TV blender while we're doing a show right now. I'm sorry, buddy, but we're kind of in the middle of a thing. I'll save it, though.
It's funny, though.
I've got the URL saved. I'm going to watch
It's
it after the
funny.
show. All right.
I try to load up the preview, and then this gets all choppy, and this just doesn't move.
I'm pretty much done with the screen now. Actually, maybe not. I'm probably going to want to load some screenshots for Ubuntu 9.10.
Specific that you need to either mention it.
I'll either try to give you an audio cue, or I'll IM you. Yeah, it's horky on that machine. I think it's the ATI video graphics.
AGI video graphics.
The CPU usage actually went down when I loaded the preview pane, which just indicates to me that it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's a bad sign. You have a few good screenshots over on your blog too, right, Brian? For the effing?
Well, of course I do.
I'll go over to lunduck.com.
It's
Lunduck. I'm looking for Brian.
God damn.
Lunduck. I'm looking for Brian Lunduck.
You know what's exciting? It actually loaded.
Loaded good too.
Yeah, let's see, where are we at? About 35K?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You getting some good traffic there, Brian?
Yeah, Lunduk.com been getting just trashed.
It was down most of the day yesterday.
Yeah. Well, it was. If you hit refresh enough times, eventually it would come back up.
Is the LJ 1156, Mike? Is that the new Core i7? Because the problem with the original Core i7, which is what I have, is you have to get 3-channel memory, and you're probably not going to want to do that because it's expensive. Whereas the new generation of Core processors, i7, they still named it the i7, but the new gen allows you to do dual channel. The performance is slightly worse, but in realistic tests, you're not going to notice unless you're encoding video all the time, which I happen to do, so 3-channel is good, but yeah. That's all I have. All right, so I got a shot of that. I got a shot of that, so we're going to talk about... I'm getting stuff up here as we talk about it. I'm just going to toggle to it. And then I'll have to like throw something at Jerry over there so he knows to...
Yeah, definitely let Jerry know.
Yeah, I want to make sure Jerry's in the loop.
Yeah, Jerry.
Yes, sir.
Almost.
So how exactly am I going to be...
Jerry when you're ready, and he'll let me know.
I gotta...
What's the matter?
I gotta try and be not too biased on this review. I really like this.
Well, I'll balance you out.
You got some negative stuff?
I do.
All right.
All right, so I got some shots here. I got shots of the installer.
What do you got? I'm going to look at your screen.
All right, so here's what I got, Jeremy. I've got
Oh, Google. That's awesome.
no, I'm about to show you, son. I'm about to show you. I just want to get one more shot of the Ubuntu App Store up in her.
People on Ustream can see what you're doing right now.
I know. I'm not looking at boobies or anything.
Okay. This time.
So where does that cut off? Right about there. Okay.
Oh, that's perfect right there.
So I've got. So when I'm talking about the boot up screen, I'm gonna have this screen up, and so there's my boot screen. When I'm talking
I
about
love
the
that
theme,
boot screen. That boot screen's so great.
Here's what I'm talking about. If we talk about Banshee, the music
Oh,
player.
look at that. That's great.
I
love
I'll
that.
zoom out one on that because that looks kind of buddy, doesn't it?
Oh, that's Banshee. I love Banshee.
Does that look better?
Oh.
And then
Chris, what are you doing for me?
is this a default theme?
No. That's not a default. No.
Because I have had that background.
That's old. That's not Ubuntu 9.10.
What?
That looked like an elephant fly.
Actually, that's not Ubuntu 9.10 either.
No,
Or
I know,
that
but
is-
I'm just
it's
going to
got
show
the-
it. I'm just going to when we
show
talk
it the
about the
App
software
Store.
store. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's. I mean, it might be the file's named Karmic, but I think it's the old. They've
No,
changed
that's
it.
Alpha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alpha 1 still had the 904 look and feel.
All right, and then we've got the installer there.
Yeah.
Okay. Ready.
I think there's a better picture of the installer
Yeah?
on my
Well,
blog.
I think I took one from your. No, the one on your blog was small. I think.
No, yeah, the one on my blog is small, but that's the new actual one.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't think that anything associated with Brian was small.
Well, holy crap, dude. Check that out.
Yeah, I just want to point out that pretty much everything related to Ubuntu 9.10 goes to my blog now. If you search for Ubuntu 9.10, I'm the first non-Ubuntu.com
Oh, I did get that
thing.
from your blog.
If you go to
That is from your blog.
Hmm?
Yeah, you just because you took it from somebody else.
Oh yeah, I did. That's right.
You're gonna get a letter from them. Hey, you know how you got a lot of traffic, jerk? That's what they
No. I downloaded and embedded it.
Son. How do you think I got that?
No, I did.
Is that a hot link?
No, that's on mine. That's mine.
Where do you think I got that from?
That's not mine.
That's not the same.
You got that from a different website.
Dude, I got it from here.
No, you didn't. When you click that,
I know, but I didn't get. I don't.
You
maybe I got that
one
from Google
me.
Image. Maybe
Yeah,
I got that from Google Image.
I did not. I
gotcha.
do not hotlink.
Yeah, I thought. Okay, I
There
must have
we
got that
go.
from Google. Hey, you know what? You know what I need is Jerry not to make so much damn noise while I'm setting up. That's what I need. I gotta concentrate.
Yeah, no.
Jerry.
Apparently, if you search for Ubuntu 9.10 installer or anything
done.
like that,
I'm outta
boom,
here.
second result. I'm
We're
even
over
above most
professionally.
of Ubuntu.com. It's fantastic.
All right, Chris is ready to review Ubuntu 9.10.
Jerry is fired.
I'm firing Jerry. Let's hire that Randall guy.
All right.
You ready?
All right. I'm ready to go.
All right, ready when you're. Do you want to intro this one or should I?
Oh, I got it.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right. I think that it's about time that we review the next version of Ubuntu. We've been we reviewed Haiku and we've done all sorts of stuff. But the new Ubuntu's coming out 9.10.
It's supposed to be out
in,
this month.
in 2 weeks. It's coming out in 2 weeks or just a hair over 2
I
weeks.
say this month that way I don't pin them down, but they did name it 9.10, so
Well,
they should hit the
they've
October.
got counters. They've got a counter you can put on your website that counts it down to the day.
And
I
they've
think
got
they're gonna hit it.
and they're in their beta, and they do several alphas. They do a beta. Sometimes they do an RC,
Yep.
and then release.
And they made their beta big and public. They asked a lot of people to use
Yep.
it. So what we're doing is we grabbed the beta and updated, and I've continually updated. So I've got the latest and greatest, the closest to release candidate I can get. Well, let's do a little review of it.
Let's do this
Let's
sucker
go over what we can expect in Ubuntu 9.10.
All right. So the first thing you're going to notice is they've been pushing this one as a polish, and then they've thrown in a few things like improved not only boot time, but it's something that we've heard thrown around a lot, but the kind of uniform look of the bootloader. So when you first power up the machine, you get it starts up, and then it almost seems like it hangs for too long, and then all of a sudden the screen will flicker and you have a graphical boot. But once you get that graphical boot, you never have that weird transition from the frame buffer to X. It just goes right to the desktop.
Yep.
And the new boot screen looks pretty good. It's nice and sharp. It's very...
No, Chris. It doesn't look pretty good. It's freaking gorgeous. It is.
Yeah, it's probably the best boot screen.
Gorgeous. It's the best boot screen I've seen for any operating system, period. On the Mac, you've got this little happy face on the gray thing. It looks like crap. Actually, Windows 7's is pretty good because it's got like this little like
Swirly
glowy
thing.
orb thing,
My
but it's not
problem-
great.
my
This
problem-
one, awesome looking.
So under VMware, right, it looked great. I loaded it on physical hardware, and the little progress thing was like schizo and like super fast back and forth.
Really?
Yeah, it went all schizo on me. But under VMware, it was nice and fluid. Like
Well, that's a good
I'm
start.
talking about the little progress bar, but it's just weird.
It doesn't do that for me on my netbooks or my desktop. So Chris is crazy talk. Chris is
I'm
full of
just
crazy
saying,
talk.
Brian. I'm just saying. I experienced a no. That's all I'm saying.
Well, it was beta.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Okay, we'll go with
But
that.
it is very
But
good,
dude, it
and
looks
the boot
great.
process, it does feel very smooth when it loads up.
does.
X11s, that transition where there's not that screen flicker, that's no longer there, and that's actually pretty nice. It makes the operating system feel more coherent in a way. Like, I know that sounds weird, but that weird graphical thump switch thing that it used to do felt really low tech and really old school. And now that that's gone, it feels like it's overall very, very much more cohesive.
Yeah.
All right. So the next thing I'd want to talk about in Ubuntu 9.10 is probably the live CD installer.
Yeah, they didn't really change much.
There's a few things polished. I
It's
think
basically the same installer as we've had for like the last year and a half.
Well, what you've got now, though, is you've got that pretty little, when you're installing, they're promoting the different applications on now. Is that new to this, or was that in 904? I think it's new to 910.
Where they do the graphical thing there?
Where they list the applications that are...
No. This is new to 910.
Yeah.
So and this is something that I called that over in my blog review of this as well. It just looks nice. I mean,
Yeah.
Windows has done this forever, where they show up the thing like, hey, brand new file browser.
Well,
That's amazing.
but what I like about this is they're promoting other open source projects. See, when Windows XP is installing, you get a promotion about how amazingly advanced its networking capabilities are, and it's new, awesome this and that are built into XP.
Well, no, this is really the same deal. I mean, basically,
but
it's the educational experience. So
you would never see Microsoft promote a third party's application like this.
I agree. Absolutely.
Because they're all competing, whereas Ubuntu, it's in their best interest that FSpot's amazing.
And I want to point out that I think that the way they've done this is slicker than what I've seen for Windows or OS 10. Basically, so they've got the picture there. It doesn't take up the full screen. It still fits on a netbook-sized screen.
Yep.
And as it changes between the pictures that show like the different apps, here's FSpot, here's Rhythmbox, it does this nice swooping motion that's very fluid and clean, even when it's not hardware accelerated. And they did a really nice job with it. It's very classy.
Yeah. So and plus, if you're new to Linux, this is actually helpful because now you know what FSpot is.
Because seriously, who the hell would think, oh, I need to manage photos? There's F-Spot.
Yeah,
no one is ever going to think that.
But now you know.
And
that's actually a pretty key thing for new people, for new Linux users. So
yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Now the next thing I probably should talk about is it's still very brown.
But it's a different brown.
Yeah.
It's less orange than
And
before.
it does ship with some very good themes that aren't activated by default. I specifically myself like the dust and dust sand themes, and they're very nice looking, very very clean. They are kind of a gray though, so if you're not big into darks and grays, you might not like it that
I
much.
like the new human theme. I don't like the old human theme that you can still get. It's still there. It's like a human clear looks is the orange theme, and they took it and made it more brown now for the normal human theme. And honestly, I think it looks classier. I think that the default background
it definitely looks
ships
classier,
with is a little too orange.
Yes. Yes.
So that was the first thing I changed. But here's the thing. They finally shipped a version of Ubuntu with wallpaper. Because in previous versions of Ubuntu, there was always 2 desktop backgrounds you could choose from. Both are brown. One of them would look weird. And then the other option was just a solid color that defaulted to brown. Now they finally made it so that there's a giant listing of nature shots and planets and nebulas and
it's quite
things
nice.
like that. It's nothing that changes everything. It's not like a game changer. It's just something that we've been waiting for a long time.
It's not enough, in my opinion. I feel like, Mark Shuttleworth himself came out. He established an artwork team. I feel like there was this big, the next release of Ubuntu, we're doing it. Okay, we're going to put it off. But the next one.
Yeah, and they did that again. They actually, they did that again just recently where this one, 9.10 was supposed to be the game changer.
I don't need them to create an entirely new theme from the ground up.
No.
There are a lot of really great themes over on Gnome Look and Gnome Art. Or art.gnome, whatever you want to call it, where they could just go and tweak it and make that the Ubuntu theme. They don't have to design it from the ground up. Just take something established and make it awesome and just get it done. Now, the dust sand and the dust themes are good.
Yep.
They're a little...
They're not the best I've ever seen.
They're a little dark. They're
dark. They're drab. There's really not much in the way of
and the other thing is while we
themes.
might disagree with some of the themes that the Fedora art team has produced, every release the art team is generally able to produce a new look and feel every single time. Now Ubuntu is technically doing that, but they're revving an existing look every time.
Yes.
And I would say each time they make it better.
Yes.
They do make it better each time,
been,
but I'm like, I don't know.
I think that this improvement is substantially better than any of the last improvements we've had. So I like the direction they're going. It does look much classier.
I feel like they get away with this look because it's Linux. If this was Windows or OS 10, it would never even ship in a beta form like this because they'd be like, oh, we cannot ship those colors.
I got to be honest with you.
But because it's Linux, they get away with it.
I genuinely, and this is crazy for me, I genuinely like this current human look of Ubuntu 9.10.
As long as you immediately change the background without seconds hesitation, I kind of agree. I just cannot stand that background.
If you change the background immediately, which there are a lot of backgrounds immediately in it, you don't even have to go and find new backgrounds. You have to go download new ones. It already has new ones available.
And they're
good. So I like it. Honestly, I like this look and feel, if you change the background, better than what OS 10 currently ships with. Because OS 10 is bright and gaudy.
There's not really a lot to the OS 10 theme other than metal and blue, but...
No, there are no OS 10 themes.
But compared to, I would say, the default look of Fedora or OpenSUSE, this does not stand up. I would say compared
I think
to
that
the
this
default.
knocks down the look of Fedora, but OpenSUSE I think has a really nice. I like the blue-green look that OpenSUSE has.
Well, so
whereas the Fedora just looks like a Fisher-Price version of Windows 2000.
Ubuntu, I would say the desktop is on the desktop. Ubuntu is unquestionably the king Linux distribution on the desktop.
Oh, yeah,
and
there's
they're
no doubt.
releasing in 2 weeks, which just happens to be about the same time Windows 7 is releasing.
Yes.
And if you are legitimately a if you remove yourself and you legitimately look at the two different looks of these operating systems without getting emotion involved, Windows 7 is
it's a better looking system.
Substantially a better, more modern looking system.
Yes.
Now I'm not saying Ubuntu needs to have glassy transparency and all this stuff, but
no, it wouldn't hurt.
Side by side, if you told me Windows 7 was a KDE 4 theme, I would say the same thing. It just looks modern. It looks like an operating system that came out in 2009, 2010 timeframe.
Yes.
Ubuntu's look does not. They come out at the same time. They're both the respective champions of on the desktop for their markets.
Yep.
And Windows 7 look is eating Ubuntu's lunch here. Now,
totally. And what sucks is
Ubuntu's can be changed and match or beat Windows 7, but out of the box.
The out of the box experience is what is going to be compared, and it's coming where people are going to be doing Windows 7 versus Ubuntu 9.10 articles, which
that's always happens.
I'm working on one right now.
It always happens.
But
it's like tradition.
It's tradition. You have to do it. So that people are going to be comparing it, and in the end, Ubuntu's going to lose that part of it, and it could have been easily fixed.
Part of this is GNOME itself. It looks a little old. I mean, if you throw
stock
KDE 4 on here, it does look better. I think it looks more modern.
It's just the theme.
I know.
There are horrible KDE 4 themes that look way worse than this.
But the default KDE 4 theme, the one shipped from the KDE project, looks better than this.
Yeah. No, I agree.
All right, but
the air theme.
It's a lot of time
really
to spend
nice.
on themes, and people always give us a hard time. But the reason we do it, it's totally changeable.
Yep.
But if you look at it from the perspective of a new person loading Linux, and when they go get Linux, they're probably going to grab Ubuntu. This is what they will see.
That is what they're going to see. So it's not my favorite.
I have friends and family that I have put Linux on like 2 years ago, and
you
they've
put
never
Linux on your friends and family?
they've never on their computers, and they have never changed the theme because they didn't even know they could.
So one other thing I wanted to point out was they changed the icons.
Yeah?
And they're nice. Basically, I mean, it's a little thing.
I'm being hard. But it's a nice improvement.
I like the new icon thing. They called it the Humanity icon designs, which I like. And honestly, they did a very, very nice job. So overall, I would classify the themes, the icons, the wallpaper, etc., as a huge improvement over Ubuntu 9.04 and 8.10. And I would not say that it's significantly better than, say, Windows 7. That's the problem. But I would say that it looks better than the current OS 10 does. But
I don't know about the icons. OS 10 has pretty good icons. Not all of them, but their overall quality
I think
of
OS 10
icons
are kind of crappy.
Really?
They're old. They're long on the tooth.
I don't know.
They
I
look
actually
like
think
weird.
most operating systems are just now catching up to OS 10's icons.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if I like them all. Like their hard drive icon is stupid.
It's ugly.
But some of the icons,
ugly.
some of them are actually extremely detailed.
Some of them.
Some of them you blow them up and there's like there's entire sentences on them.
But there's no I don't know on the OS 10 side I don't know. There's just as a general package their icons are ugly. Individually, some of them are nice.
Back to Ubuntu.
Yeah, let's talk about Ubuntu.
Somebody keeps wanting to talk about OS 10, but somebody else wants to talk about Ubuntu.
So the Live CD installer is great. They did a nice job with it.
I want to talk about the Ubuntu software store because that's shipping.
Yes.
And that
the
is
software center, not the software store.
The software center, because it's not yet a store. The essentially, and the way I used for this review, the way to now install software.
Yes.
Synaptic is kind of going to the side.
Synaptic's going to be going away in, I believe it's in 10.04. The software center is going to replace Synaptic.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the software center, which on the screenshot I'm about to show everybody, it is still titled store, but it is center. Now, right now, this is just a way to primarily find...
you should have really used the screenshot from my website that has the proper one.
All right, I'll go get it.
No, it's cool, Chris. Don't worry about it. It's just my website or anything.
No, I know. It's just so hard to navigate because there's so many amazing pictures on here. Go ahead.
All right,
talk about the center.
So a few things I wanted to point out. So honestly, this is probably the thing I'm the most excited about.
All right.
And it does not currently deliver on the things that I am most excited about in it. So the Ubuntu Software Center, I'm excited about the prospect of third-party applications being available for sale on a default Ubuntu application.
Right, but that's not where we're at yet.
But that's not where we're at yet. Really where we're at is a somewhat easy-to-use version of Synaptic. That's really where we're at. It's simplified Synaptic, and it does look nicer. They did a nice job on it. It's not perfect, and it has a few rough edges. And
it's a little plain too.
It's a little plain Jane. But honestly, if you look at it and you think about where it's going, and when it adds in a store and a couple other features, it's going to get much less plain, even with the current design. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's going to fill in for sure.
So in 9.10, all it can do is just search and install new software. That's it. That's all it does.
And it's essentially a Synaptic replacement with a nicer UI and a little easier to find stuff that maybe you didn't know. Now, their category browsing is much better now. You can, in Synaptic, it was hard for a new user to find stuff. They've now broken things out into accessories, education, games,
with nice
graphics,
icons,
Office.
and everything.
Yeah,
it's significantly better than the OS
much
icon.
easier.
Now looking forward though, they've released a product roadmap to say, here's where we're going with this, exactly down to the release. In 10.04 next April, they're going to replace Synaptic and hopefully the update manager with the Software Center. So the Software Center will be your one-stop shop for everything.
Yeah.
They're also looking to be adding in non-graphical software. So meaning having a single place to install like new fonts and, server backend stuff and everything. And it will also be attached to Launchpad. And here's where that gets kind of interesting. So if you don't really know Launchpad much, on the Ubuntu side of things, Canonical made Launchpad, which is basically a set of web services and its website to go to, where projects can be hosted and rated and commented on and worked on and tracked and installed from. They're tying it in together so that you could have
I like that.
software ratings and reviews tying in with your Software Center and Launchpad at the same time.
That's a great idea. And so that's going to be
10.04.
Okay.
In 10.10, there's going to be tighter integration to the Launchpad stuff, and the big one, the ability to purchase third-party software through the Ubuntu Software Center. So that's 1 year from now is when we're going to start seeing that functionality.
In October of 2010, we should be able to buy software in the Ubuntu store.
And then after that, they've got a list of things that they want to do, and the 1104 thing, which is like, searching by cost and licenses and maintenance timeframes and subscriptions and all sorts of stuff.
In April 2011, now that's the time I'm talking about now, they're also going to do more social interaction where you can see what your friends are also using software-wise.
Exactly.
And then I really like that idea.
It's very cool.
I'd like to see Brian's top 10 apps and go see if there's one on there I haven't done.
It's way cool. It's absolutely way cool. I love it, but it's not here yet.
The other thing they're not introducing until April 2011 is the ability to have a history of past software installations, removals, and purchases, which seems like a pretty good thing to have. But you think about it, I mean, it seems like, what? They're not even going to have a history? If you've used iTunes doesn't even give you that.
No.
So, I mean, there's established stores out there that don't have that.
Yeah, I mean, there's big established stores that are incredibly successful that don't have any of that stuff.
So, but in October of 2009, when Ubuntu 9.10 comes out, you're just going to have the interface,
and you can
basic
install some
open
apps.
Source software, and their
it.
security backend is based on PolicyKit instead of GK sudo, which is good.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. It's a nice incremental improvement over what we've got.
Yeah.
And it lays the groundwork for much cooler
and it is
stuff
easier to find software.
It is.
So
I like it. I think they did a nice job with it. I'm impatient is what I am.
That's
I'm
impatient
that I want to see a few of the updates that are slated for the next year already.
I know. That's how I feel too, but they got to do what they got to do.
Yeah, it's got to take time. I'd rather them get this in here now and make sure it works right and get people used to using it before they start making all the other changes. So it is smart. It is the right way to go. I'm just impatient.
If that's the rolled out step procedure they need to take in order to make it right,
I'm all for it.
That's great. And maybe they can even get done a little sooner and make everybody happy with a little surprise here and there.
Now, what I was surprised about, though, is that given that Linspire has...
I was just going to say.
...has the click and run store and it works on Ubuntu, that
this is my problem
opted to not use the click and run store.
I don't care. I don't care if it was click and run. I don't care what it was. My problem is this is a one distribution solution.
Right.
Now, on the desktop, it's probably, going to get a large majority of users problem solved. But
Right.
if I'm running OpenSUSE today, Fedora tomorrow, and Ubuntu next week,
Yep.
I would really like to be able to have all of my software that I have bought and paid for come with me through this application that I load up, log into, and then re-download and install
Right.
all of my apps, regardless of distribution. I'm probably
No,
going to
but
be
here's the
less
thing,
inclined
though.
to buy through the Ubuntu
That's-
software store and instead just buy through the I might use the software store to find an app and
But
then go to their
that's
website and buy it.
That's the same argument you can make against the iTunes store, though.
That's
I mean,
exactly. That's why I buy my music from Amazon.
No, I mean like with iPhone applications. So I mean,
It's a huge
why,
problem.
Why don't I do that? So it's
Well, for one, I mean,
Ugh.
iPhone is not my desktop computer. You know, that is a little handheld device that I'll keep for 2 years or whatever and then
Yeah.
toss. Whereas,
come on, you replace your desktop every 2 years too.
but not my desktop apps. Some of my,
that's
some of my
true.
desktop
They stay
apps
around
are-
forever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's a little bit.
It is.
I think they're
I know what you're
influenced
saying
from
there.
the iTunes
Here's-
Store model, but I
here's-
don't think it's
Here's the
applicable
problem.
to
From a
desktop.
technological standpoint, it's really hard to go across multiple packaging formats and distros and do that. Like even with the click and run store, really, it's just Ubuntu. I mean, technically,
Yeah.
it's only hitting Debian-based architectures. They redid like FreeSpire to be based on Ubuntu way back when,
Right.
And they have it available for Ubuntu. But really, that's what it does. Is it's an Ubuntu software store. So so my concern here is if Canonical comes out with the Ubuntu Software Center, and they don't work with the click and run folks. That's kind of the death nail and the final nail in their coffin for Click and Run. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, because unless Click and Run moves over to the Fedora and OpenSUSE camps, which just doesn't have the market share that Ubuntu does.
Well, and I wonder, is there going to become animosity between the distributions? You know, if Network Manager is amazing, right? I mean, Network Manager is one of the best pieces of software that hit the Linux desktop in the last 3 years.
It was we kind of needed
It's
it.
kind of vital.
Yeah.
And you know, that a lot of that work was done by the Fedora project.
Yep.
So could they find themselves in a position where people now go with Ubuntu because they've bought stuff through the Ubuntu store in 2011 or 2010? But they're now using a ton of code from the Fedora project. So now Ubuntu and Canonical are setting up this sort of forced monopoly via their store, but using on the back end code for their desktop designed by other distributions. Now these other
But that's
distributions
fine.
are churning out code basically for Ubuntu to lock people into Ubuntu. It
Yeah.
essentially could potentially lock people into that into that desktop.
Oh heck yeah, and it's great.
Great in the sense of
For Canonical, I mean, in order for desktop distributions to succeed, even if they're hobbyist, even if they're totally not-for-profit organizations, they need a form of revenue stream to be able to work on it.
absolutely.
And what else are they going to do?
I know.
I mean, they either
and we
start,
don't know. I mean,
they
for all
either
we
start
know,
charging for Ubuntu, or
Right.
they do this where they can start taking a cut
Sure.
of software sales. And by doing it, they honestly, I love having 1,000 distros out there. I love trying them all out. But
Sure.
the reality is, at the end of the day, I got to come back home to one key distro that I know that the majority of Linux users are using or will be compatible with,
Right.
so that I can develop and sell them software,
Yeah.
or just develop software for them to use for free, or open source software.
I understand.
Otherwise, it takes up too much of my time.
My point wasn't so much of is Ubuntu and Canonical in the right to do this, but are they going to end up getting in trouble with the other distros?
No, not at all. I could see a lot of projects that are originally starting on other distros slowly migrate towards Ubuntu.
I wonder.
Because the reality is Ubuntu's more popular. More people like it, more people use it. That's just the way it is. You can argue about whether that the people are right. There's a lot of small distros that are awesome. I mean, Linux Mint, Saboyan, OpenSUSE, they're great distros. Great. But they are not winning. Ubuntu is winning in terms of desktop market share. And
By a pretty large amount.
It's by a huge amount.
Yeah.
So it's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having an Ubuntu store that allows you to do that. And here's the thing. If you're
I guess,
developing,
though,
if I'm developing a Linux application, right?
Why couldn't it have been the Linux desktop store? And then a system that's available for
For other distros?
Yeah.
Because it's a ton of work. And because honestly, then you'd have to package every application like 50 billion times, which takes forever. Or we can focus on actually making software. You can either make
But
software
what if you as
or
a
you can package
developer could have
software.
submitted, I mean, what if a Canonical could have charged you a small commission on every sale and you submitted them a package
And
in
they
some sort of
package
form
it?
and they package it for the different distros and throw it out through the store?
Because then you can't support it. Because when you package it up, you're talking about installer scripts to set up the environment, making sure that the proper versions of dependencies are met, and honestly, like with some of my software, right?
Yeah.
So my comic book reader on Ubuntu, totally easy to install, totally easy to make a package for it.
Sure. Okay.
On Red Hat, there are packages that are in the repos of every distro in the world except Red Hat. And it's a pain in the butt. I cannot use the same dependencies on Red Hat as other distros.
Right.
So why on earth would I spend the time working on that? It doesn't make any sense when you're hitting, 10% of the desktop Linux market share. Who cares at that point? I mean, sure. And there's no reason, at least not yet, that an Ubuntu software store like this
for all we know, it's going to download a deb and install your home directory.
Download a deb and maybe like auto send you a serial or something like that. In that case, you'd still be free to move to other platforms.
Exactly. We don't know how they're going
to do it.
But it's an issue that could come up.
And honestly, I think people should be talking with Canonical about how they're going to do it now.
Yeah.
But honestly, I have no issue with it whatsoever. I love it. What I'm weirded out about is why are the other ones not doing this? Where is Novell in this?
Resources, I suppose.
But I mean, like Novell. Novell is in the position where they should be doing something like this.
I agree.
They're not doing something like this, and I think they should be. I think OpenSUSE and SUSE Linux Enterprise Desktop should have this.
And to be honest with you, I think there's even a market for it in the enterprise. I would love to be able to go and one-click download, install, and buy JBoss, for example.
Oh, yeah. Or, dude, boom, Oracle. I would pay a premium if I could one-click it and Oracle was just installed.
There's a whole market of engineers that would lose their jobs.
I would pay an extra $1,000 if all I had to do was click, and that just saved me an entire week of work.
Nice. Well, I mean, going on with the Ubuntu review, should we cap on something that was kind of controversial that ended up kind of going flat? And there was talk about dropping Rhythmbox and
going
switching
to Banshee.
Now, Banshee has really come a long ways, but the problem is it's based on mono. It's a good-looking app. It's got a ton of great features because there's controversy around mono.
But Ubuntu already has mono.
I understand. That's why I was surprised they ended up dropping it. I guess there was a couple of key features that didn't make it into a Banshee. Some things related to usability and things like that. But it really is a great application.
It's my favorite music application on any platform.
Yeah. It's great.
It doesn't it's better than iTunes. It's better than Media Monkey on Windows.
They're pushing for a Windows version of Banshee.
Yep.
So Windows users won't be left out. And
it's a great app.
I always think that's a great way to transition people. Start them out with Firefox, OpenOffice, FSpot, Banshee, whatever will run under Windows.
FSpot doesn't run under Windows.
I know. I'm just as an example, and then move them.
It's the saddest thing ever. I love FSpot. I go over to a Windows system and I'm like, I can't use FSpot.
But all in all, so Rhythmbox still in this release. A little, and I don't know if you're going to see it in the next release of Ubuntu either, because that's going to be their long-term support, and they're not going to want to make too many.
But
changes.
it would be nice. I was kind of bummed out. I included that as something that was my negative.
We should mention that you did a nice write-up over on your blog over at lunduke.com.
Yep.
And the title is Ubuntu 9.10, almost perfect.
Yeah. And, I love it. So actually, there's
you want a couple more things on here?
I got a couple more.
We should mention too that they're shipping Ubuntu One pre-installed, and
that's what I want to talk about.
Ubuntu One premium accounts have been kicked up to 50 gigabytes to match Dropbox premium accounts, which is cool.
Very cool.
And
they did a very. It's great.
We've gone back and forth on Ubuntu One, but at the end of the day, it's fantastic functionality to be built into the desktop. Even if you just use the freebie 2 gig account.
I mean, let's be honest.
Syncing across desktops, files, and settings is great. It's only files right now, but
that's just it. They've made it clear that in the future they're going to add additional functionality to it. It's very along the same lines as like the .Mac or iTools or whatever their mobile whatever their Apple
and some of the functionality that Windows users get out of Windows Live, although Windows
that's a little different, but yes, somewhat similar. And it makes sense to have it built in to your desktop.
Absolutely.
Now, users can choose to use a different service if they want to, like Dropbox. Honestly, I'm still using Dropbox. I'm probably not going to switch to Ubuntu One. I love Dropbox, but maybe in the future, when Ubuntu One has a lot more features, I might be switching to it. And I totally applaud Ubuntu having this in it.
Yeah.
They need the revenue stream, and it adds additional functionality. Yep. It doesn't take up a lot of space.
And you can use the free version if you want.
There's no bad side to it. Like there's nothing down about it.
You get 2 gigs. You can sync your files across your desktops. Why not at least throw documents in there? And
basically,
things like that?
all it is Ubuntu now comes with 2 gigs of free online storage. That's all. That's the gist of what it means for most people.
Yep.
And that's awesome.
I like that.
That's awesome. One of the other big things is Pigeon's gone.
They've dropped Pigeon. Yep.
Thank freaking God. Pigeon, the de facto, the key, the big instant messaging app that everyone's been using since, I believe, 1962, and it hasn't been updated since then, near as I can tell.
Remember, they updated it in 1999 to remove the ability to resize the chat box. Remember they did that? Yeah.
That's right.
And I think they once again broke file transfer.
So anyway.
But Empathy now, right?
You know, so Pigeon's gone, replaced by Empathy, which I just would like to point out, I told them they needed to do that. And I just want to point that out, that you know, every 6 months or so I go, hey Ubuntu, you should really do this. But 6 months later they do it.
But see, the problem with Empathy is
I'm just saying.
Empathy has many of the same limitations that Pigeon has,
except that it also has voice and video chat support.
But Pigeon just added
and screen sharing.
But Pigeon just added that through Google Talk. They added voice. So as Pigeon finally gets voice chat support, they drop Pigeon.
But see, the great thing is Empathy is built in a much more modular fashion. Empathy can tie in with the rest of the desktop much more smoothly than Pigeon can. And a great example of that is in the initial Ubuntu startup. Right. It comes with this nice little, what do they call it? They called it it's like the communication panel. The indicator applet.
Oh yeah, the Empathy indicator. It's a little applet that sits up in the gnome bar.
And it's not just for Empathy. It's just a standard indicator applet that anything that properly uses
Empathy has the ability to tie into that.
And that you know, so Evolution and Empathy will both show
I don't
you
use either.
where all your
I don't use
messages are at and
Evolution.
everything.
I will use Empathy now, but I do not use
great.
Evolution. So really, I'm only using that for now. If Thunderbird would feel like maybe it was once in a while a native application.
Dude,
to tie
Thunderbird's
into
done.
That. I know, man.
Thunderbird's sad, but I love Thunderbird as a mail client, but I'm moving over to Evolution myself, just because it actually works. And it works really well. So I've been really happy with that.
So Mike Linux in the chat room is asking me to look at a screenshot. I don't know if this is Ubuntu 9.10 or not, but Jeremy, throw this screenshot up there. And what is probably key to note on this guy is, you know, you can take Ubuntu and you can turn it into a better looking theme pretty quickly. Now this one happens to look like Windows Vista, and you know the same thing will come out for Windows 7, but it looks radically different than the stock GNOME theme that it ships with. And you know, so I know we harped on the artwork a lot, but it can be changed.
It can be,
but by stock, it needs to look better than it does today.
It does need to look better by stock. That's out of the box. It's got to look better. They're making it better. It looks a lot classier than it used to. I just hope that they keep along that path. They need to keep moving forward.
Yeah. All right.
Absolutely.
So is there anything else you want to touch on in our Ubuntu 9.10 review?
The games suck.
Yeah, the games are weak.
And
not just that there's not games for Linux, it's just they don't ship anything awesome.
They don't ship. Yeah, there's so many good games for Linux. And there's big games, there's little games. On my website, I point out like a couple that I think are super show-offy. I know some of them I pointed out, like Frankie and whatnot are kind of big. So
Frankie looks fun. I've never played it.
It's a 3D platformer.
I like the look of it.
It's made by the Blender team, and it's a great game.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Blender Game Engine. Check that out.
It's fantastic. So there's a ton of Linux games that are very small and cool looking and 3D and with awesome graphics and 2D and great. But no, Ubuntu doesn't ship with it. It ships with some of the oldest, jankiest looking games available. And
what are you gonna do?
You know, the games are great. The people who made them did a good job, but they made them like 15 years ago. Move on to new games, fellas.
Yeah.
Let's get something interesting. They don't like Frozen Bubble. Everyone on the Linux world has played Frozen Bubble forever.
I think there's space on the CD, right?
Still don't. Yes, there's still space available on that CD, and we still aren't including it. It's just what are you doing? Remove the 20 some odd horrible games and put in 3 okay ones. And I think that would make Ubuntu look classier, make it look more modern.
Right.
Because you have cheesy games there. I mean, heck, even Microsoft was like, hey, you know what? Our old Solitaire was looking a little long on the tooth. So they made a nice looking Solitaire. And so they're like, you know what? People are looking at this and making fun of our Solitaire.
Yeah.
And we were. I don't know if you guys remember, but when XP came out and it had like the same Solitaire as like Windows 3.1,
we're like,
everyone went, really? That was like 20 years ago. Are you guys retarded? The same calculator, the same everything. And sure, you don't need an overly fancy calculator in Solitaire. But come on, make it look a little nicer. Put a little bit of love into it, guys. other than that,
or but you can get it through that Ubuntu Software Center. But yeah,
but come on.
But they need to highlight them.
They need to highlight that. If I had never heard if I had never used Ubuntu before, and
you wouldn't know of Yo
and
Frankie.
I loaded it up, I would not know about Yo Frankie. But I saw the games that were available by default in the games folder there. I would have gone, really? This is games for Ubuntu, and I would have never looked for any more games.
It looks like
I would have just been like, I give up. I can't play games on this machine.
It seems like when Warty Warthog was shipping, they threw a bunch of default games in there, and they've never looked at that menu again.
They've never changed it. Yeah, they just forgot about it.
Yeah.
Well, no, they actually did change it. If you go into the games folder now, they made
that's even worse then.
So yeah, they changed it. So
they
boom.
did. Look at that.
So they used to have this list of like 20 games.
Now they just added a random folder called Logic.
Folder where the Logic games
where Minesweeper is and Same Gnome and Sudoku
and they're horrible looking. Now here's the thing: KDE4 has some nice looking games. So
what's going on there?
What's the deal, guys?
What's going on there?
Seriously. So okay. So other than that, I still don't like that there's a lack of a decent video editing application.
That's not Ubuntu's fault, though.
I know that's not necessarily Ubuntu's fault, but I would like to see some distro saying, hey, we bless this video editing app and give some love to it, whether it's PTV or the Open Video project.
I'm with you.
But I would like to see something like that happen. It hasn't, so I'm going to still count that as a knock against Ubuntu because they haven't done it. And honestly, it's the knock against the platform, so it's a knock against Ubuntu. That said, I absolutely love this release.
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite release. Yeah, it's shaping up to be the best Ubuntu release yet.
I would go so far as to say this is the best release of any Linux distribution that has ever existed that I've used.
Whoa, really?
It's quality. It's moving
I think
forward.
It definitely has the potential for that, too. I don't know if it's that yet. I look at like 2011, I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, when they get the software store and everything else all buttoned in, and they make Ubuntu 1 have a few more features, and they update the default background to not be so orange. Honestly, I'm gonna be doing cartwheels in the street.
Yeah.
But right now, as of right now,
and they've been talking about the boot time for a couple of years now. It genuinely is getting quite
fast.
good.
It's fast. Honestly, you notice though, I didn't include that as a selling point because I just don't care.
You don't care.
I just don't care.
But it is. I just give them a nod.
I would like to point out Hibernate works perfectly.
I was just gonna say on the machine I loaded on was a little HP laptop.
My HP and my Triple E both Hibernate worked perfectly out of the box. I tried all the different settings for when you close the lid. The Hibernate and suspend and everything else. All of them worked exactly like I'd expected. Compiz resumes. The 3D effects keep going. Wireless kicks back in. None of the issues that we've traditionally had with it are there.
The only thing that has always been a problem for me that I didn't get a chance to test. So I had it from work. I've been assigned for a couple of days, and so I threw Ubuntu on there. Don't tell work. And it was an HP business class laptop, and it had a VGA out. I didn't get a chance to try the VGA out. It also had a Verizon Air card, which I believe was detected by looking at the output of DMessage, but I didn't get a chance to try that either because I only had it for a couple of days.
Interesting.
But video output is definitely something I want to see how they're doing on. But I should note, I did try a VMware installation of Ubuntu 9.10, and do not install VMware tools or you will break X11.
Oh yeah. The VMware tools
the
currently hit Ubuntu 9.10 is
the Xorg that ships with Ubuntu is not okay with the VMware tool.
The two of them fight a bit. They get a little bitey on each other.
Yeah. And I don't know who won because I couldn't see anything. So it was, I'm sure, an epic battle, but I missed the whole thing.
It was gone. It was too late.
It was too late. I had not seen anything.
You didn't see anything. So so I really got to say, if I'm going to be deciding, like if you put a laptop in front of me and said that laptop can run Windows 7, Ubuntu 9.10, any of the current modern Linux distros, OS 10.6, etc., if I just had to judge purely based on the merits of the out-of-the-box software and the OS install, I would pick Ubuntu 9.10.
You wouldn't pick it based on its looks. I know people hate it when we talk about that, but it is first. I mean, if you put three of them side by side, it is the first thing you'll notice is one looks like it's from 1997, and
OS 10 really does look like that from 1997.
No, you know what
point.
I'm talking about.
No, honestly,
I like how many times you bring up OS 10, and I'm not talking about OS 10. Somebody wants to talk about it.
It's fun to make fun of OS 10.
You just like getting the Mac boys all riled up.
I really do, don't I? Yeah, that's what I like to do. No, but really, I think that, I definitely have to give my thumbs up on this one.
I'd say it's a fundamental mark in a new quality point for Ubuntu, and I am not saying that's not the case for the other distros. We haven't reviewed those yet, so hold your tongues, people. But it's a great release. It's going to be a great release. It's not out yet. It'll be out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to what we can now point people to and say, go install this.
Yeah. Now, I want to point out, Ubuntu 904, the last release, just so in case anyone's like, man, Brian's such an Ubuntu fanboy, go back and take a look at what I said during that review. I was kind of like, well,
really, guys, this is it, huh?
So you guys were working for like 6 months, huh? You sure did a lot.
And I phoned this one in?
Yeah, seriously, and honestly, I thought Ubuntu 904 was kind of jank. It was like a step backwards. The drivers didn't work on a lot of devices that 810 worked on.
The Intel performance issues should be resolved.
Graphics issues, sound issues. They didn't really update the look and feel. There was no great new apps. Nothing really happened. 910, however, I'm like, you know what? They fixed bugs. They made it boot faster. They made it look nicer. They added new functionality that no other distro is adding for the most part. And I'm very happy with it. I'm impressed.
All right, Brian, I think that wraps up our review of Ubuntu 9.10. All right.
You never close your eyes when I kiss your lips.
You never close... What?
What?
How much is there left? Because I kind of have to pee, but I can hold it if you just have a short second.
Well, it's wrapped now.
We're just doing the outro and the intro, and we're good.
You all right, Jerry? You can hold it?
I can hold it. Oh, no, I can't.
It's too late. I've peed everywhere. Yeah!
Yeah.
I'm naming the segment
How
files.
far in are we? Are we going to do calls?
No.
No calls today, guys.
And that's just because we got to eat and then we got to move on to Stoked.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Right? Are we doing Stoked?
Yeah.
You guys want to do Stoked live?
Yeah. All right, so, yeah.
It's up to the people.
Yeah.
I mean, because we got to eat.
We got it.
So we can
got to eat.
We can run reruns for a bit, but we got to eat.
The man's got to eat. So here's what's going to happen, everybody. We're gonna close out the show. We're gonna do the intro to the show that we always got to do. That's tons of fun. And then the boys here are gonna take a little wee break. We're gonna go and we're gonna eat a little food. We're gonna prep for the next recording. If any of you guys want to hang out or want to go and then come back after a little bit, we're gonna be recording an episode of Stoked. So
probably,
if you really
not more than like what?
Maybe an hour.
You think an hour?
Maybe.
Because the pizza's in the kitchen.
On the out. Oh, then not that far. Not that long.
Half hour.
Half hour-ish.
We'll probably run reruns for like a half hour and then come back and do Stoked once we.
Yeah, that's.
We still got to wrap the computer action, so we're not done yet. But all right, well, why don't we do it so that way Jerry can go pee? This just doesn't get old for me.
I find it funny. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
All right, ready when you is.
All right. I do believe that brings us to the end of this week's broadcast.
Yeah.
I want to thank everyone for stopping in and hanging out with your good buddies, Brian and Chris. If you, by any chance, would like to get a hold of us, you can over at jupitercolony.com. That's a forum on the internet.
You betcha,
Brian. You
can
talk to us. There's a Linux Action Show forum in there. Just go ahead and use that one for now. We're still working on why the heck we can't change the name of it to Computer Action Show.
Yeah, I know.
It's kind of annoying us. We
have some PHP errors.
Oh, we got to get that fixed. But for now, it'll do the job just fine.
Yeah.
You can, of course, also contact us via so many ways. Go to jupiterbroadcasting.com. There's a little contact us link. Yep. Go there. There's a big page full of options. It's phenomenal.
You know, I got to mention, though, Brian, there's a new way we're doing it. I like it so much, Brian, I got to talk about it.
You love the heck out of it.
If you go over to facebook.com/jupiterbroadcasting, we have got a fan page set up over there, and it's great. We've got tons of people joining up. And it's another way to kind of follow what we're doing and see what's going on and give us immediate feedback.
And the great stuff is, if you go over there, there's a discussion area. There's posts that we post.
And the webpage is unavailable. Facebook has been having so many problems lately.
So normally that works really well, though.
No, it usually does. And it's just if you're doing it live, it doesn't work. It's like the internet knows. The internet knows when you're live.
It does, doesn't it?
Somehow it senses the bits.
Oh, man.
Yep. So, and then, of course, we're also on Twitter. I'm twitter.com/ChrisLAS.
And I am, of course, twitter.com/Brian Lunduke. My whole name with no spaces or dots or hyphens or anything.
And Jeremy behind the camera is twitter.com/JBJeremy. And I want to mention, too, that if you want to check out any of the gear we use to make these shows, you can find that over at jupiterbroadcasting.com/store. I have some plans for that. We're going to introduce some swag
Chris
there pretty
has
soon. And,
He's a planny McPlanner.
For now, for the most part, the plan is we're going to be having the live stream going 24/7 over at jupiterbroadcasting.com/live.
That's right.
And we'll break in every now and then with live programming, which you can always catch when that's going to be on the facebook.com/jupiterbroadcasting.
Right now.
But when we're not, we either have reruns or the geekiest free rights TV we can find.
We found, I've got a lot of geeky stuff. And actually, if there's anything that you would like to see, you know what? It's your channel too. So we've been playing a lot of Computer Chronicles. I've also got a huge collection of really old school like Flash and Superman cartoons and a variety of just crazy, crazy old sci-fi. I've got an old cowboy musical sci-fi I've been wanting to play for a little while now.
I've got a series of horror movies and Sherlock Holmes that I should get to you on a disc.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Because they're good.
So
all rights free, which
we're
is
doing
awesome.
that. It's all rights free, but if there's anything you'd like to see, let us know. We're definitely open to taking suggestions for the channel.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everyone. Well, we'd love to hear from you, and if you haven't in a while, if you're an iTunes user, which I think about 62% of you are.
62.758%.
Subscribes and comments or things like that. There's always the way you can get these shows weekly when they release or bi-weekly by checking out the RSS feeds or the iTunes store entries. All right.
That's a good point.
I think that's everything I have to plug and talk about.
I have nothing else to say.
I hope everyone
at
enjoyed
this
week's episode.
Me
until
too.
2 weeks?
About, yeah.
Oh, and if you haven't checked out our Star Trek Online podcast yet, Stoked, you can find that over on our site too.
Right.
All right, Brian. Let's say goodbye.
Later, everybody.
All right. Now, do you want to go piddle while I write the show intro? Don't knock over the camera.
I got a piddle too, but you know what, Jeremy? I'm going to wait.
Well, you can just keep that all pinned up to make the intro that much more intense.
That just means I have motivation to get through the intro in one take.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to take a sip, actually, of Coke. That's how much confidence I have.
You guys would check your Monopoly pieces before the intro, just in case you
Alrighty. Here we go. Let's see if I'm a millionaire. Peel here. I got Textea para ayudar. Oh, it's all Spanish. I got Reading Railroad. And Pacific Avenue. So, I just got those. All right, everybody. Chris is writing up the intro. And we'll
I
have
got to
that
remember what we
done.
taled about.
He's going to look up what we talked about here.
Do you guys remember what we talked about? It's been like too long.
Jeez, I don't remember, man.
I don't remember. What did we talk about in this episode?
We talked about Jerry. We covered Ubuntu. I remember that part. Everybody.
I want to put something in there about Microsoft loving all over the Samba project's face. But is that too
Yes,
explicit?
That's too explicit.
Is it?
Yep.
We mourn the loss of your sidekick's data. Samba and Microsoft sitting in a tree. Sitting in a tree?
Yeah.
K-I-S-S-I-N-G. Do you want to do that?
K-I-S-S-I-N-G. Okay, that's really lame, and I'm going to do it because that sounds awesome now. Almost up to 35,000 visitors to the blog today. Almost. Not quite, but almost.
Then we give you
almost. Holy heavens to Betsy, I'm getting a lot of Google search engine traffic from people looking for Ubuntu 9.10 info.
That's the best thing that...
Look at that stuff.
That's the best thing Dig can give you, because the Dig traffic is kind of like a blip for
It's
a couple
hit
of
and
days.
miss,
But if you get Google,
That is fantastic. Today is coincidentally the highest traffic day in history for Lunduke.com. Knowledge is power.
Show files. Yep. All right. So this is...
Do.
Now, do you want to read this from my screen, or what do you want?
Yeah, I can read from your screen.
How's that look to you?
We mourn. Mourn, M-O-U-R-N-E.
M-O-U?
Mm-hmm. I think, is it...
With an E?
I don't know. Does that have an E at the end?
I'll spell check it.
Yeah. We mourn the loss of your sidekick's data. Samba and Microsoft sitting in a tree. K-I-S-S.
Oops.
TNG.
That's what I started thinking.
ING.
Kissing the next generation.
Yeah. We tell you all about it. Then we give you our action review of Ubuntu 9.10. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Should I put anything else in that first paragraph?
Do we have anything else to add in there?
Oh, sure. We covered
anything super fancy sounding? Twinkie. Jeremy got Twinkie. No, Mike. No, Mike.
What?
Nothing. Right. Yeah, memotalk.com. It's a good site. Good site. Good call, JZA. If you like the Memo stuff, check it out.
All right, how's that?
The London Stock Exchange makes the switch to Ubuntu.
Oh, it makes
No, switch to Linux.
not Ubuntu.
Yeah, don't kick that, Jeremy. You'll be disappointed with the results. We give YOUO the details.
Are you rich, Brian?
Um,
Can you pay off my ticket so I don't go to prison?
the London Stock Exchange makes the switch to Linux. I don't know. I feel like we tell you all about it and we give you the details. Kind of sounds the same. Switch makes the switch to Linux. Details inside, or something.
Details. We've got the details.
We put the details in your face.
Yeah. We put the details all over your face. All right, well, let's give it a shot. Let's see how it works out.
All right. Hey, Jerry, hit record.
Jerry's fired.
All right, get ready for this, Jerry. Are we on to Janice then? Where are we at?
On the count of go.
All right.
You see it okay?
1, 2,
Is ear that way or worse?
Yeah. Get that up. Yeah, just put it up. Let me know when you're recording, Big J.
I'm recording.
This week. Whoa, that was a little poppy. This week on the Computer Action Show, we mourn the loss of your sidekicks Data, Samba and Microsoft, sitting in a tree, KISSING. We tell you all about it. The London Stock Exchange makes the switch to Linux, and we've got the details. Then we give you our action review of Ubuntu 9.10, plus so much more. All this week on the Computer Action Show.
Done.
You
Go
like
ahead.
that one? That one feel okay to you?
Yeah, I just fell a little bit in love with you.
All right.
Oh, it's cute. All right, so should we go eat some food and then come back and do Stoked?
Oh, that felt good. All righty. What do you guys think? People in the chat room, was that all right? Or do we need to ditch that and do it again? Come on, chat room. I need your input. I trust you guys more than these guys. Oh, they want me to do less gay? All right.
This week on the Computer Action Show.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, guys.
All right. Are we still streaming?
Yeah.
With the video camera and everything? All right, guys. All right, we're gonna go do a few things for a few minutes. We are gonna be back in probably about 30 minutes or so. So stick around if you want to watch us record Stoked. It's a little more relaxed when we do that. It should be kick back and chilling. Yeah, we'll see you guys in a little bit. Thanks to everyone for coming and hanging out with